Good morning, afternoon, and evening, wherever you are, and welcome to a NerdTube discussion. I'm joined here by Gary, the boss man. How you doing?
I'm doing all right.
And by the title of this video, you have probably seen that and probably heard in the news that WB and New Line Cinema have announced that they are working on multiple new Lord of the Rings projects. Now, here on the channel, we have covered the Lord of the Rings Rings of Power, sorry, TV show from Amazon Prime. But this would not be from them. So we're going to kind of take a look at this article here really quick. First off, boss man, what actually I'm going to get from you. What are your initial, without reading the article, what are your initial thoughts on this news about them bringing more? It says more movies, so it's obviously going to be movies, not like TV shows. What are your thoughts on this?
If they're well done, then I'm all for it. It's just. I'm just wondering, is it going to be kind of messing with the canon so much? That's my concern because the thing is that the Ring of Power, the big problem was that it messed with the canon. From what I saw of it, I mean, I didn't really see a lot. I saw about 2 or 3 episodes and then I gave up because it was kind of messing with the canon. Because Lord of the Rings for most of us is like pretty like solid holy text. Especially for myself, I love the series. So they've got Silmarillion. They could probably adapt it to movies. I mean, I am curious about what exactly they're going to adapt. But I mean, as I said, if it's like in the Basque scale, I'm all for that.
Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up the article here, and then we are going to kind of page through it a little bit and talk about our thoughts on some of the information that's given here. So this is courtesy of CNN Entertainment. I know probably not the 100% best but resource, but this has been fact checked by people. I mean, this is actually something that's happening. So this is just the article that I picked. Um, so it basically starts off by talking about Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings trilogy only scratched the surface of the rich world of Middle Earth created by J.R.R. Tolkien. Uh, they say, and multiple new movies set in Middle Earth are in the works. So multiple new movies. So we're not just talking about a one and done. We're not talking about a new trilogy. Just multiple new movies. Warner Brothers Discovery CEO, I don't know, isn't it David, announced that on Thursday in an earnings call after the studio heads signed a deal with Free Mode. I have no idea what Free Mode is. A division of Swedish entertainment company Embracer Group, which acquired the movie rights to Tolkien's work in August of last year. I okay, sure. Warner Brothers will produce the movies together with sister company New Line Cinema and Free Mode, expanding upon the much loved world and characters of Middle Earth. And a statement released by Embracer reads. Currently, New Line and Warner Brothers Animation, so there's the keynote there, are in production of an anime movie, The Lord of the Rings: The War of the Rohirrim. It's a story set 183 years before the events of Lord of the Rings, recounting the fate of Helm Hammerhand and the King of or a King of Rohan. Neither the cost nor the deal, blah blah blah. So they basically just talk the rest of this. I mean, we can go through this more here in a minute, but I want to stop there. So we're going to take this off the screen really quick so we can talk. Okay, so Boss Man, this is going to be animated. This is going to take place before the events of Lord of the Rings. The Lord of the Rings, the Fellowship of the Ring, about 183 years prior to that. This was something that was referenced in the Battle of Helm's Deep, or and kind of like their what was it, their charge or whatever, talking about the Helm Hammerhand and everything like that. So this is also something in Tolkien lore. I've not explored it very thoroughly, but what are your thoughts on them doing? We'll talk about this one in particular first, and then maybe move into our theories later on. So, what are you thinking about this? What are you thinking about this specific project that they've already announced?
It could be exciting. Again, I don't know what kind of like fight style or anime style they're gonna do for. I mean, is it going to be anime? Is it going to be animation? Is it going to be like kind of like what's the word, stop motion? I mean, I don't know what kind it is. I mean, if to find a way to make it kinetic and exciting, then I'm all for it. I'm just wondering like how they're going to make it involving for people with a storyline, because the thing is that because they're going to have to find a focus. I they're going to base it wrong about the guy that they raised, that King of Rohan. Is he going to be the main guy? Because the thing is that yeah, black, set pieces are cool, but you need somebody to root for. You need somebody to have character development with, and that's the thing that I think could go by the wayside. I mean, I'm not saying it is. I'm just a bit concerned that it could be just a massive like action fest and not concentrate on the story. And that's my concern, given by what they were saying.
So, this gives me a little glimmer of hope. I wonder because let's keep in mind who is running this. Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers also owns a property that has a very successful animated fantasy department known as DC. And DC Animation is well known for honoring source material on most cases, not on all. I know people are going to scream "hush" at me and all these other things from the DC animated universe, but for the most part, they have more hits than misses in the DC
Mm-hmm.
animation and the DC animated department. But this is also Warner Brothers. So what if, yes, the Rings of Power did take some departures from the Tolkien lore and canon. However, maybe some of the if this is more animated projects, what if these animated projects stick more to the pure Tolkien lore and they're more like one-off movies like DC projects. Like they're going to jump around in the timeline. Like you're going to follow, be based on different characters, follow separate people, like throughout the timeline you can go from the first stage to the third age to the second age and you're just following certain characters and following Tolkien lore to the T because there is a butt ton of Tolkien lore that they could dive into, probably almost just as much as I mean, probably not just as much as DC, but enough that there is just a ton to pull from. And if these are just one-shot animated movies, maybe not in theaters, maybe these are direct to shelves releases, even like DC animated movies. But this could be a good opportunity for Lord of the Rings to kind of do some of that. What are your thoughts on that aspect?
Well, so I'm excited that New Lines is associated with doing it. So that means that Peter Jackson could be, what's the word, involved somewhere in the process of this. And again, it depends on who they get to do it. And I mean that in the best way possible because they need like a Bruce Timm or a Paul Dino or something like that where with somebody with a singular vision of what they're doing. But I'm with you. I mean, I do have hope because there is a lot of law, I think, in the Silmarillion or something like that, where they can pull from. I'm just concerned that somebody's going to say, we full talking to a point and then we do our own thing. That's where there could be an issue because the thing is that when somebody tries to add value to it, it could be as you were saying before with the horse thing, it could take away, but also it could add value. Like there's a lot of DC animated stories that are a lot better in their animated form than they are in the actual comic book. So there is that aspect, but I think it depends on who's writing it, who's fronting it, who is casting it. There's a lot of variables, unfortunately, that I don't have the answer to. But I'm just saying, if they do if they do the process well, then there's no reason that this couldn't be a really really good project.
Yeah.
I know that's a shit answer, but I wish I could get a bit
No,
kind of
it's a
better.
good no, it's a good answer. I mean, we don't know much. Like I
Yeah.
was kind of glancing through the rest of this article, and I mean, all they do is recap the Hobbit brought home $3 billion. The Lord of the Rings trilogy also brought in three. Like they're just kind of recounting the rest of the Lord of the Rings stuff. So there's not much in this article other than that one thing. So yeah, I'm gonna start off. I'm gonna fantasy pitch here, not like a full thing, but like, you know what I want to see? I want to see a Tom Bombadil movie, like a Tom Bombadil animated movie.
Mhm.
Like make it like Gotham Knights. Do you remember that the old DC animated movie where it's like
Yeah.
a bunch of different artists? That did not work for me in Batman form, but in Bombadil form, he's just weird. That character is just weird enough that you could do different artists, different writers for each story, and like just make it like throughout, you know, the
Yeah,
entirety,
I,
because
yeah.
Tom Bombadil supposedly, well, according to him, was there before. I don't remember the quote from the book, and I know the Tolkienites are going to crucify me for this, but he was there before, you know, the elves and all that other stuff, and now he's going to be there well after. So it's like it'd be fun to kind of see, like, you know, Tom Bombadil before the first age, during the first age, second age, third age, and, you know, maybe even jump into the future, past Lord of the Rings with Tom Bombadil, see what he's up to 100, you know, 100 or 1,000 years after Lord of the Rings. You know, like, I think it would be very interesting, and I think that would, it could go very bad, but it also could be very good.
So basically, like 1,000 stories about Tom Bombadil. I mean, I mean, actually, that idea is actually pretty. Do you know what, Cheeto? I'm gonna duck my cap. I'm not wearing one, but if I was, I'd duck it. Actually, I'm behind that idea. That actually sounds like a really, like if it's different, like animated styles for every story.
Hmm.
That kind of like, because again, we get hints of those stories in the actual books, but if we actually got to see them, it could be interesting. I'm actually with you.
Yeah, I think I don't think, I think it lends itself well to that character, like Tom Bombadil, just like kind of that crazy, loose, like different adventures, different styles, you know, and he gets himself in all sorts of shenanigans. He talks to the trees, he talks to the wildlife. You know, have him have, you know, I don't know if in Tolkien lore he has many interactions with Radagast the Brown, but, you know, like, have do a, you know, there's so many adventures that they could take of Tom Bombadil, and even maybe do a what if past Lord of the Rings. You know, maybe have somebody create a total original thing. I'm not talking like anything huge and big. I'm talking about like a small adventure. Tom goes and talks to the humans of Minas Tirith or something like that, 1,000 years after the War of the Ring. You know what I mean? Like, just something that's, it's original, but it's also very true to the form, you know?
Yeah, I mean, personally, what I think would be a good idea is maybe if we saw maybe like Adventures of Saruman and Gandalf before the whole Hobbit thing, so we got to see like their relationship because I think that could be an interesting thing to look at, like their relationship, what it was like before the whole ring thing, how it corrupted it, that sort of thing. That could be interesting. That would personally be for me. Again, I
Hmm.
don't speak for yourself, but that would be for me an interesting thing to see. I'd also love to see. Um, I'm trying to think, like maybe like the rise of Sauron, maybe like like maybe like a maybe like an animated movie about the rise of Sauron, because like the thing about a reference now might sound a bit stupid, but if they kind of did like the animatrix, but kind of like with the rise of Sauron, where we get to see like kind of like spot things where like we see like different parts of his history, like where he began, like what he was like when he was young, and like what led him down the path, and like how he developed, and how he developed the ring of power and how he tricked people and stuff like that. What kind of charisma this guy had, because these things are kind of hinted at in the film, but I kind of wanted more of them, if that makes sense. But I mean,
Hmm.
but then am I removing mystery from my good mysterious villain? Then
Yeah, I mean, there's so many with the Tolkien lore. There's so many different avenues you can go down, and still honor the source material. And as I said, I'm not one of those people that are like honor the source material 100% of the time, because, I mean, look at comic books. Like, we've gotten so much better content sometimes when they don't honor the source material. And as I said, I'm not saying Tolkien stuff is bad. Tolkien stuff is great, but sometimes these products translate don't translate well from book to live action without a little bit of play. So it's like, you know, but maybe with animated, you can be a little bit more of that canon stricken, you know, purity of Tolkien's work. So I really, I mean, I don't think if this is the route they're going. As I said, all we have is a small announcement. They talk about Warner Brothers Animation in this production. Now they may be doing this animated movie, but they also may be doing a whole nother like live action movie or something like that. who knows? All we know is this one project is lined up with New Line Cinemas and Warner Brothers Animation. And they called it an anime, which I don't know if they're just saying it's animation or if it's going to be in an anime style, that
I think it's
that
going to be
Eastern,
animation.
yeah, that Far East style of anime.
Hmm.
I sometimes I am not very fond of, like, let's take Ninja Batman for example.
Hmm.
I am not, or Batman Ninja, whatever it was called. I was not a fan of that Far Eastern style that was used with like Batman. Now, it worked with X-Men in my opinion, but with Batman it did not. So it's kind of a throw up if that's actually going to work, but I don't
I
know. I mean, this is good news. This is, I think, a watch and see type scenario.
Well, as I
Um
said, it depends. As I said, it depends on who they get to head it, who casts it, who is cast in it. Because again, like, because if they get the wrong people for it, it's going to see so off. Because the thing is that um, what I what I like about the whole Lord of the Rings, the original films, is that it was well cast. Because you look at the people they cast in it, and I hate to say this word, but you couldn't see anybody else in those roles. And because you think Gandalf, you think Ian McKellen, you think
Yeah, but I
Bill
mean, Ian McKellen's still alive. So I mean, technically, if they wanted to, and I know this would be a little bit of a pricey thing, but they could still get Ian McKellen in there. Hugo Weaving could technically still come in. Viggo Mortensen, I know I said his name wrong, I think, but he,
Watson.
as Aragon, like he can still come in. Like I mean, a lot
Elijah
of
Wood
these
could still
actors
come
are
in.
still alive, except for maybe the late great Sir Christopher Lee. So
Well, most of them could come in. Yeah, definitely. Um, I mean, as I said, I I mean, the thing is, what I'd love to see is another animated film in the Basque style. Because I know that we spoke just before we went on, that you said that you hadn't seen it, and I said that I had seen it, and you said that you've been told it wasn't very good, and I told you that whoever told you that is wrong, because it is really good.
what
I mean,
is?
it's as good as the films, live action films. There are aspects that is better than the films. It's aspects that's worse than the films. It's one of those.
I haven't watched it all the way through, so I cannot give you my full. I just said from what I've heard, it's awful. So I
It's
mean,
not.
as I said, I just go off of what I heard. I have not taken the time to actually watch it, so I cannot say, in my opinion, if it is awful or not. I just have not given it the time of day because of what I've been told. Anyway, so and yeah, you're right. I mean, I need to watch it. If
No, no,
I'm not
but I mean,
gonna.
I'd love to see that sort of style being brought back for a Lord of the Rings movie, like a Lord of the Rings animated movie, like that sort of thing, like something like that's along the lines of, like, say, the Black Cauldron, for example. That could work very well with the Lord of the Rings mythos. Um, I'm just scared that they're going to kind of like sour people on it, because again, like, the Ring of Powers was already a not very well received series, and I'm concerned that it could kind of like, what's the word, take people on it, because again, Lord of the Rings, the source books, and even the Silmarillion, which maybe not be as good as the Lord of the Rings or the Hobbit, is still a good book, and I'm just hoping it doesn't, go against that. And I mean, I'm not saying it has to keep to everything. I'm just saying when it does an adaptation or does its own thing, it has to be as good as the original source material.
Yeah. Well, I think I'm gonna wrap it there, boss man. If if anyone out there in YouTube land wants to see more of us talk more about this topic, definitely let us know below in the comments. I mean, there's more to talk about, but as I said, this announcement really doesn't give us too much. Um, but yeah, with all that being said, Gary, thank you very much for joining me to for this discussion on this news breaking about Lord of the Rings. And everybody out there in YouTube land, please give this video a like, a comment, and consider subscribing to NerdTube. We are the greatest YouTube channel you kind of maybe sort of heard of. We will catch you in the next one. You have my mic.